immediate, I wouldn't say immediate, but just got back. Now I'm going to record. Nothing scripted, right? We're going to talk about the Bridgerweight division right now. It's a bunch of bullcrap. If any of you guys have seen Austin Powers 2, there was a character named Fat Bastard. Lawrence Okolie is the equivalent of Black Fat Bastard. That's exactly who he is. The Bridgerweight undisputed fight happened today. Thomas LaManna versus Lawrence Okolie. Both of these guys weighed in, I don't know what they weighed in, 220 pounds. When they entered the ring, both guys were bigger than the heavyweights fighting as the main event, Dubois and Usyk. These guys were full-blown heavyweights, and they had to make a fake weight class where these guys cut weight. I mean, Lawrence Okolie looked like he was about 260. Right? He was a fat bastard, and he fought like one. I don't even know. I didn't even realize that was Lawrence Okolie until they said his name, and I was like, holy cow. His boxing conditioning is even worse at heavyweight. Wasn't it him cutting weight which was making him terrible at cruiserweight? That's what he said, right? But now he's moved up to full-blown Bridgerweight, which is actually bigger than heavyweight. And he's just even worse than when he was at cruiserweight. So how the heck is this even a division? They need to just get rid of it. But these belts, these sanctioning bodies, they need their money for it, right? They love that extra money from whoever promotes Okolie and LaManna. It was a bunch of bullcrap. Now we're going to go into Usyk Dubois. Usyk got hurt twice, I think, in the first round, and it looked like he got hit with two right hands and he was badly wobbled. I thought the ref was going to jump in and just stop it, right? From what I was saying the other night, where, I mean, if you're Usyk, you better not. Usyk did a good job of hiding it, but it looked like he was badly wobbled in the first two rounds. He would never tell you that he was or wasn't, even if he was or wasn't, right? I thought the ref was going to jump in first round. But they're also seeing some people, or I don't know if I've seen some people, but it was like hinted at by the DAZN commentary that Dubois was a quitter and all of this stuff. Man, he got hit with some clean, really heavy left hands from Usyk. It looked like the middle of his upper back fucking broke and folded forward like a goddamn chair, right? He got fucking folded. He fell down. From what I remember, it looked like both his eyes were just crossed. One eye was looking that way, the other eye was looking the other way. And he even tried to get up, right? I think he did get up after the count of 10, but people were saying that he quit. Like, the dude was out. Like, as much as we all want to see him just go defenseless after getting up, taking another left hand, and then just going unconscious, everybody would love that, including me, but he was out, and to call him a quitter, I don't know, right? Like I said, it looked like his upper back folded forward like a goddamn chair. He fell down, his eyes were crossed. I don't know if his eyes were crossed or not. It's what it looked like when I was looking at that screen, and I was like, God damn. That was my initial reaction. I was like, God damn. Holy shit. So, I mean, that fight was awesome, right? That fight was awesome. Even though Usyk looked a hair slower, he was getting skimmed and grazed with punches that he would usually be able to dodge. And for him to just stand in range and just fight him, right? And people love the boxing stuff, but you have to admit that you love these fights better. That was a fight. That was a fight, right? And people just say, oh, the boxing, whatever it is. It's like, no, you want to see the fight with the good technical skills of an Usyk and the determination of a Dubois, right? And then we're going to go to the PBC card, which was a huge undersight on my part And I'll tell you why, right? So, Pitbull Fiero, I gave the other guy, what was it, Salcido, the fill-in for Fiero, a 40% chance of beating Pitbull because Pitbull, every outing since Tank Davis, ever since he beat Tank Davis, he's been out of shape, right? And so going into this fight, I looked at his conditioning, how fat he was. I didn't look at Pitbull. Pitbull was trim in the face. He got up on the scales. He was ripped. He was under 140. And that was the best conditioning we've seen Isaac Cruz at 140. There was a lot of people saying that he was ducking Ryan Garcia. He was ducking Devin Haney, whatever it was. He didn't duck anybody except for Vasily Lomachenko, right? It seemed as though those two were on different timelines. It was just never going to match, but he never called out Vasily Lomachenko for a big fight. Maybe because of the politics at PBC, but also because, Lomachenko doesn't duck a challenge, tries to get as many fights as he can get done in that time span of when he was fighting before, discovering his back was all effed up, whatever it was, right? So Pitbull looked amazing, in my opinion, right? Looked the best he has since at 135. And he's not really a ducker, right? Except for Lomachenko. I don't know. He never even mentioned, I don't think ever mentioned Lomachenko, so to never even put himself in that conversation smartly. But it is what it is. Fundora, Tszyu 2. Tszyu doesn't have it anymore. He's done. His championship contention is over with. He showed up. He was walking to the ring. He was standing across the ring. Didn't have the eye of the tiger. Didn't have that fire. He didn't have that fight in him. He was fighting Fundora, right? And it looked like he was headhunting a lot because he was scared to go a little bit to the body. And I think it was because of the way that Fundora's elbows are pointed out, right? And so when you're looking at Tszyu from that technical standpoint of punching to the body and then trying to step through on the inside, if he were to step through on the inside, he was scared he might have probably gotten cut again by the elbow, in my opinion. And so if he were to punch to the body, he would go straight back out, right, without turning on the inside, if you understand what I'm saying. And so it looked like he was scared of going to the body in the first 3 rounds. He got dropped in the first round, like I said, by a left hand. One, because he pivots off his back foot sometimes when he's trying to look for a combination. He doesn't just rip the 1-2, right? He goes with the 1, and then he looks to see if the 2 is open, and then he'll throw the open 2. And so you can catch him in between that. And Fundora did that with the left hand, with the left hook. Tszyu had his feet in the dominant position, but because Fundora is a lot taller and a lot lankier, he's actually able to cross his body easier, right? Because he has that length to actually cross the body with whatever punch it was. It was like a crooked straight almost, right? A crooked straight. What was that? Like an oxymoron or whatever. So clips Tszyu on the chin. Tszyu just never had that fire. Even though it looked like Fundora was on his way to being knocked out, Tszyu was just not there, right? So now he's known as a quitter, rightfully so. He's a quitter. He's done. His championship reign is over, right? And so talking about fighting the best, that's probably over too. He's probably not going to even try to want to fight the best anymore, right? His reign is over. Fundora's just a dog, right? He's just a dog, as they would say. Going into Pacquiao Barrios, and here's the biggest undersight on my part. That fight was fixed. It was fixed from the very beginning. I think they opened the odds. Barrios was like a 9-1 favorite, which means that it's basically fixed, right? And so you have all of these YouTubers making their videos. Oh, Barrios is going to just wash and just kill Pacquiao, basically. He's going to knock Pacquiao out. He's 46. They're looking at just the numbers. They're not actually doing any of the film study. Aren't you a film study channel? Right? When you're talking about some of these people who make exclusive film study channels, aren't you supposed to be the guy making the film studies, showing why this guy's going to win, why this guy's going to lose? You're going to be showing the advanced punches that slip the guard, the advanced defense of bobbing and parrying and blocking and countering, and all of the punches that you don't see because you have all the tools of just looking at the internet and slowing it down and recording it and talking it over it, right? But here you got film studies talking about open, clearly visible punches. Well, of course, you're a basic filmmaker, right? You're looking at one guy, you're looking at the clearly visible shots, and you're making highlight reels of that instead of looking at the advanced stuff, the stuff that most of the good viewers would see and would score it. And a lot of these judges see it too, but they're not there to be an actual judge, right? And so a lot of these film study people are talking about clear, visible shots and all this garbage. They're not even talking about like the advanced techniques going to the loser, right? The quote loser of the quote official judges' scorecards, unquote. And it makes it reek, you know. But going back to this fixed fight, so I think he opened up 9-1, so everybody was making, they knew it, right? When you know that it's over 7-1, you know that the fight is fixed. Basically, going back from how they used to bet in the 90s, and this was something that I brought up years ago, and you know, the people who watched it, and they hung up and they clinged on to that odds, right? Of the 7-1 is basically a fixed fight. So when you get it to 9-1, it's written, it's already written, you know. And for me to overlook that, I said undersight, but I'm overlooking those odds and trying to speak to the boxing fan base as an actual boxing fan and telling you that Pacquiao is going to win based on film, me studying the film out there of both of them currently and giving you the reasons why, which is exactly what it was, right? Barrios was a little too quick, was a little too slow on his retreat, and he was getting caught with a lot of the advanced punches that were buckling him. Now, my scorecard for Pacquiao Barrios was Pacquiao won 9-3. My scores: round 1, round 2, round 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Some people gave 5 to Barrios. Alright, I gave that to Pacquiao. I saw Pacquiao buckle Barrios just enough to make Barrios think twice. And after he buckled in that 5th round, and he did a good job of hiding that he got buckled, but he was getting buckled a lot before that 5th round, right? But that 5th round when he got buckled, it was like he basically went into defense mode and he didn't really want to fight anymore, right? He was playing safety first. And then round 12, he tried to win that round, but in my opinion, he got hurt more than Pacquiao, right? And so when you're judging it, scoring criteria-wise, it's the effective punches, right? So, yes, Barrios was catching Pacquiao when Pacquiao was exiting, and he would hit Pacquiao when Pacquiao was a little bit in the air, leaving him off-balanced, right? And so you can call that effective. But when Pacquiao was landing punches to the chin, the temple, you know, the straight to the chin, the right hook to the chin, the right hook to the temple, the uppercut, right? There were moments that you could see that where I call it buckling, but it's like when you get hit with a punch like that, Barrios was blacking out for just a split moment, right? And that blackout from those punches, I call them buckling or whatever it is, right? But there was also a point where he also hurt Barrios early too, right? Maybe it was round 5. Maybe it was round 4, right? It was one of those rounds where that 5th round was the sealer, in my opinion, where Pacquiao from that 5th round going on forward won pretty much every single round. He did win every single round, in my opinion. But also, some people did see that 5th round for Barrios. But I'm kind of explaining why I gave it to the 5th and showing that 5th round actually did belong to Pacquiao, because that was the fight. That was the round that changed the tide of the fight, right? And so you're scoring it on effective punching, but the fight was just rigged, right? You open up as a 9-1 favorite, and when you go in there, it's like 50-50 because everybody bet on Pacquiao, and the casinos just took all the money for a draw, right? Because Pacquiao won, in my opinion, 9-3 and or 8-4. I just gave you the rounds, right? 5 and 12 were swings, but I didn't give them both, So 9-3, 8-4 to Manny Pacquiao, right? But also ESPN is pretty much done on boxing next week. So today is the 20th. By the 26th, Xander Zayas will be fighting the last ESPN boxing card, right? And with these kids that they bring up as child prodigies of boxing, why can't any of these fucking dudes crack a goddamn egg with their fists, right? It has to do with these people that they've been, what do you call it, giving money to and all of this other stuff, funding them, backing them since they were kids, and none of these fucking guys can crack a fucking egg. Xander Zayas, Haney, Shitker, Stevenson, you name it, you name it. The guys that were being, what you call it, the machine was behind, we'll just say. But I mean, Pacquiao Barrios, man, that was fucked up. They totally robbed everybody. They robbed everybody of a pay-per-view, robbed them of the fucking gambling, robbed them of fucking history being made again, robbing time. And you can see why my vision when I give this shit is fucking half-assed and undersided, because all of this shit, it's like, why? Why? Right? So, I mean, those are my thoughts that I'm sure I have a lot more thoughts, right? I can talk for hours, but I'm just not going to do that. I try to keep it 10 to 20 minutes, but sometimes it goes way long. And, the 10-minute ones are just fucking incoherent. I'll even say it myself. I'm incoherent in those streams because I'm like fucking half asleep. I'm half asleep. I'm just fucking rambling, But this one, I'm almost fully awake. I won't say that. I'm a little bit more than half asleep, right? Or half awake. I'm more than half awake. So I can actually make this coherently. But this one was just, it makes you so mad that you stay up. But it's like bull crap, So, I mean, thanks for watching this video, but I'm going to just keep rambling on. But I told you that Mario Barrios actually was pretty good, right? Because even though he's tall and lanky, he can still fight on the inside like a Mexican, right? And so when you're looking at Pacquiao on his retreat, was getting hit to the body with a 2-piece hook, a left and right hook on his way out. And yeah, you can score those. But, I mean, were they as good as the punches that were, blacking him out to the head? And when you're talking about Barrios' coach, his coach was doing a terrible job, right? He was like saying, oh, just stick to the jab. Mario Barrios was throwing that jab in round 1 and 2. And Pacquiao was slipping and dodging every single jab. He was parrying it. He was blocking it. He was countering it, right? He was working off of Barrios' jab. And that's why Barrios couldn't really even do shit when you're talking about the fight as an actual fight and scoring it. He was able to land the jab as Pacquiao was retreating towards the end of the fight. the very end, but at that point he was losing if you were scoring it honestly. Right? So it really didn't matter. And so now they're saying, I saw Barrios was saying, oh yeah, we can do the rematch and yada yada yada. Jim Gray's like talking about the rematch. PBC was pushing for a rematch on a draw. You don't do that unless you can have the rematch if you actually gave him the actual real decision of him beating Barrios. Then you can have the rematch. But you beat him. You didn't actually beat him. It was a majority draw. But it was also a fixed fight. So, I mean, if you're going to rematch, believing that the rematch is supposed to bring in more money because the rematch is, quoting Max Kellerman from 20 years ago, the rematch is where all the money's from. People want to see it again. Yeah, if it's a real fight from fucking 20 years ago, right? But fast forward to 2025, it's not 2005 anymore, and the fight is fixed. Who wants to watch a fixed fight a second time? Which is, when you're looking at PBC from a marketing standpoint, when they do have rematches, nobody fucking watches them because the first one was most likely fixed anyways, right? And you're not going to stop any Chinese or Russian guy from streaming the whole fight to the Americans who didn't even want to buy this, right? But it's like, for the people that did buy it, which if I had to assume Prime Video didn't sell enough, they can see how many people buy the pay-per-views as they're streaming it, and they can change the narratives whenever they want to suit their business plans, right? So Bernardo Osuna from ESPN, no longer ESPN, now working for PBC, he starts talking about 7-5 Barrios out of fucking nowhere, right before as they're tallying up the scores, right? And sure enough, one of the scores was 7-5 Barrios. Name the fucking 7 rounds that Barrios won. And then prove that he won it. While also showing both guys scoring their punches that they scored effectively, And like I said, people just do their film studies and their I'm going to quote them, film studies and their quote presentations. But it's all just casual shit, right? They're not showing any of the actual stuff that you would want some of these people to see or to learn from. And then you have people online calling some of these guys coaches, right? Such as even a few years ago, somebody was like, oh yeah, you should be a coach or whatever it is. I'm going to call you coach. I'm like, don't call me that, right? Because one, I'm not a coach. I can't sit in a gym all day long. But two, some of these people that are called coaches, if this guy was actually a coach and he was an actual coach in a boxing ring in real life, you would get brain damage. You would get badly hurt. You would have a career making no money, and the only thing you would receive from that career is just severe brain damage or, memory loss or all of this other shit. So this is the actual me saying, thanks for watching it to the very, very end. See ya. I'm out.